transparency is important because we have to think about the future, think about the contemporary world, think about our lives, think about our administration, think about our own rights in this country, in a democratic country. The reason is that you need information. Without information, you can't move at all. Information is something like oxygen for them, oxygen for a human being. Information is like oxygen for democracy. Without information, what do you do? How do you perform your duty? How do you exercise your rights? This is the basic question. We have liberty of thought under Indian Constitution, which is guaranteed without explicit guarantee, without being an explicit guarantee. But my question is, what you find as a principle in preamble of Indian Constitution, liberty of thought, how do you exercise it? And what are the limitations on your liberty of thought? If you ask me a question, is there an absolute right? Is there an absolute right in any democratic context? I say it is liberty of thought. It's an absolute right. You can't restrict it. You can't physically control it. You can't do anything with liberty of thought. Whether you are an authoritarian or a dictator or a democrat or father, grandfather, husband, whoever you may be, you can't control the thought process. But thought process to be on right path, which should translate into expression right, that is freedom of speech and expression, exercising Article 19(1)(a, it has to pass through a good amount of information. Information is requirement. Information. If you don't know anything, what do you think of? And if you can't think about properly, what do you express? And without your expression of communication, how can you run the administration? How can you run the country? How can you run the society? How can you run your organization? You must inform the people about what you are doing in Bank of Maharashtra. What is your cutting edge? What is your competitive supremacy in the world of banking? And why should I deposit only with Bank of Maharashtra? What is the advantage if I do that? If I have an account with you, you must tell me. I don't ask. It is on your own. You should tell me. Why are you telling? Why are you keeping that information? Why are you advertising? Why are you holding press conferences? Why are you having your annual reports? If I don't have right to information, and if you think the right to information is a nuisance, I know most of you think, and most of the people in the country think, and most of the people have something to hide, and most of the people have done something which cannot be told explicitly in the open society. And do you want that society? Do you want that kind of secrecy? Do you want that kind of suppression of rights? Do you want that kind of a country where people do not think and do not talk and you do whatever you want because you are in authority? Is that what you want? Is the fundamental question we should ask ourselves before considering right to information as a nuisance. Before considering that somebody telling something to somebody is waste of time. Before answering the questions for information and fighting against it, you should think about all these questions. I'd like to ask one question to you, all of you. As officer, as an employee, you are all benefited by Right to Information Act. You are all benefited. I can tell you 100% confidence, with 100% confidence I can tell you. Every NGO, every clerk, every officer, every public sector employee is totally helped by Right to Information Act. Do you know how? Now your confidential reports, annual confidential reports are available to you. You have got a right to question the adversity in the annual confidential report, and you can question the authorities for regarding you as lesser than what you have expected to be in the grade. And without ACR, you will not get promotion. And without promotion, I know what kind of a dissatisfaction, frustration, disappointment, and demoralization you suffer. You all got, because of Right to Information, that this is your annual confidential report, which is no more a secret. At least for you, it is not secret. And it was secret for you all these days. Have you ever imagined the torture that caused, such kind of a rule caused to you? A Britishers' regime, East India Company regime's appendage, which we are suffering even today, till recent times, 2008. Till 2008, it was the position in this country. When Right to Information Act came in, people started asking for ACR copies. Because you are all greatly educated people, na? You will ask. But when you are a PIO, when you are an officer of the bank, you deny the information to others. whereas you want that information. That is the attitude in this country. I'm sorry if I'm sounding a little harsh, but what is happening today? Every bank is fighting against Right to Information Act, wriggling out, trying to wriggle out of transparency law. You don't want Right to Information Act to stop you from your activities, and you think it's a disturbance. This is a very sad part of the banking story today. I'm extremely sorry to talk like this, but it's a reality. We are feeling for it. As a citizen, I represent a citizen, not you. I represent a common man, not the officers. And it is the requirement of the law, it is requirement of the constitutional governance that I should talk about a person who is depositing 10 rupees in you and he is becoming trustee. I'd like to tell you my experience. You all know RTA Act. I don't want to deal with the preamble of RTA Act, the purpose, aims and objectives. I don't want to deal with that kind of a routine PPT presentation. I want to make a critical thought about the transparency, and I want to ask you to be more transparent, because you are dealing with not with your money, you are dealing with public money. You are a trustee, you are a manager, you are a holder, you are a what can I say, a fiduciary as far as people's money is concerned. And it all depends on you, your goodness, your character, your efficiency, your transparency, your ethical governance, your performance, your active, dynamic and honest performance is what is expected by the people, and what is that you are supposed to do according to dharma also. If you believe in God, if you believe in righteousness, if you believe in honesty as a requirement of a good human being, you must be transparent. Even at your home, you have to discuss with your son as to what education, what stream of education he is interested in. And if you want him to be a doctor, he doesn't want to be, you must convince him by discussion, by debate. He must know that you are trying to make him a doctor, and you also must know that he wants to become an engineer or a journalist or somebody else. So this kind of discussion, democratic discussion, is expected even in home. And if you don't do this, I don't know how can your family prosper. I don't know. I cannot say anything about it. It is your own domain, private domain. I'm totally convinced that it is your private domain and nobody is interested. Nobody should be interested in asking about it. But I'm generally talking as a matter of principle, ethics in transparency, ethics of transparency in administration. That you are now in Pune. You know, there is one great professor, Sathe in Pune, in one of the law universities, in one of the law schools of Pune. He is a great academician. He is one of the wonderful professors of constitutional law and administration law. I do not know whether you have his book on administrative law in your racks. If you don't have, please purchase it. Administrative Law by Sathe, Professor Sathe, SATHE. You may note, I request your officers to note it and inform you that you must have this book in your racks, along with Constitution of India. I hope you have the copy of the Constitution of India. It's a very, very important copy. Along with the copy of the Constitution of India, you should have Sathe's Administrative Law. And Sathe also wrote one more book, very interesting book, very important book for all administrators, that is Right to Know and Right to Information. He wrote long ago, much prior to 2005, Right to Information Act. And he tells the importance of knowledge, right to know, right to information in administration, in governance, in management of affairs of public money. He explains it. It is required everywhere, I tell you, everywhere. College, university, railways, RTC, Road Transport Corporation, Bank, Reserve Bank of India, Financial Ministry, Government of India, PMO, Rashtrapati Bhavan. I'll tell you one incident, because you are again in Pune. I would like to talk about that example, very, very important example. You know, one active ex-army man in Pune was going along the road by the side of which the cantonment, a building was coming up, a beautiful building was coming up. When he inquired, it was told to him that that building is meant for President of India to reside after retirement. At that time, there was a woman President of India to our country, and after her retirement, she is expected to reside in Pune. That's what her wish was. So for her, a building is being constructed. But that was in the place of the young retired army officers or young army retired personnel, educated personnel, for something meant for them, for their development and welfare. Then he was surprised. How come this land is being used for this? Whether the president, what are the entitlement of President of India after retirement? That was his question. He filed a RTA application with President of India office, Rashtrapati Bhavan, Delhi. Information came. Luckily they did not file writ petitions like RBI and other banks. They did not issue notices to others, and they gave information, luckily. So the information received was that the former president will be entitled to 500 square yard plot or around 2000 square feet 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom house, for lifetime, free of cost, with of course maintenance allowance also. That is the entitlement of President of India after retirement. She is yet to retire. She is still continuing in the office. Then this information came. Then he inquired with the persons involved in construction of the building. Then it was reported that they are taking up a huge area. They took up a huge plot beyond 500 square yards, and then they are building up a huge area of residence beyond 2000 square feet. Then he held a press conference in Pune and said the President of India after retirement is entitled to so and so, so and so, so and so, but this is what is happening. Is it right? Is it correct? Are you not wasting public money? Are you not providing excess than what is prescribed? It's a very, very serious issue. It created ripples in all over the country. It made national headlines in all the newspapers. And President of India herself announced that she is not going to take this residence as a residence. She will be satisfied with 500 square feet or 500 square yards or 2000 square feet. And she also requested the persons who are involved in construction to give it back to the army welfare for the purpose of activities which is originally aimed at. This is the impact of Right to Information Act. President of India is amenable. The office of President of India is amenable and answerable and accountable under Right to Information Act. And I am surprised most of the public authorities are trying to wriggle out of transparency law. Why it is so? What is that they have to hide? Are they corrupt? Are they scandalous? Or should I use any other language to understand their hiding attitude? This is not my question. This is a question by everybody. You also will ask the same question. If your passport is delayed, if it is rejected without reason, what is the recourse you have? If you are a very influential man and you have a joint secretary known to you in External Affairs Ministry, you will get it done. But what about those officers who do not have such acquaintances? I know several incidents where RTI was filed and their passport was released. Ration card was released. Pension was released. I tell you my experience in Central Information Commission. One professor who is retired a year ago in some university in Punjab or Haryana, a small accounts officer is harassing him. Small accounts officer. If there is any lack of accountability in this country among the people, it is the accounts officer who doesn't have accountability. Generally speaking, not to offend them. The most of the accounts officers should be accountable. Then they will really maintain accounts in a proper manner. Somebody should have a power to question them. If not, they will harass the people. And this professor is one example. Then he says, sir, I have retired long ago. I need pension. I am not a rich man. I have to depend on my pension amount. I can't depend on my son or daughter. I have to protect my dignity. And he filed an RT application. They rejected. Atrocious. They rejected the pension information, saying that information, the file is not with him. Then First Appellate Authority is what is happening to First Appellate Authorities in this country. I am very sorry to use another anguished expression. They behave like just clerks to endorse the other clerk's opinion. A clerk PIO wrote something and he fears to counter it. Fears to counter it. They have no courage to tell truth to the power. They have no courage to use rule of law. I'm surprised most of them behave. First appellate authorities are so unaccountable, unanswerable even under RTI Act. Very pathetic state of affairs in this country. So he simply endorsed the rejection of PIO. It came to me. I was in office as Central Information Commission. I asked him, is he your professor? Yes, sir. Did he serve 30 years? Yes, sir. Was he receiving a salary? Yes, sir. Is there any complaint against him? No, sir. Then what happened to his pensions? I don't know, sir. You are accounts officer, you are disbursing officer, you are responsible to do this, and you are designated as PIO and you are not giving this information. What do you mean by this? Sir, the file is with the Vice Chancellor. It is locked up in his cupboard, sir. We don't have any authority to ask that. Absolutely right. This is the plight of PIOs in this country. The key information is kept in lock and key of the key personalities of public authority, and poor PIO is made responsible for not answering, not giving the information. Entire public authority is responsible if PIO is not giving information. Entire public authority. Starting from the head of the department, head of the institution. Because they don't want to give information. If there is a denial of information, absolutely it happens with the consent of the top of the officer of the public authority. Unfortunate state of affairs in this country, unfortunate. We don't have any regard for a parliamentary legislation. Anybody who is abusing RTI, anybody who is not acting according to RTI, he is committing contempt of parliament. Luckily, nobody is prosecuting the people. You are surviving, we are surviving. But in fact, it is contempt of parliamentary privilege, breach of parliamentary privilege and contempt. Now, what happens? First appellate authority gone and say, this man says my file is with Vice Chancellor. Then I said, who is your first appellate authority? Registrar, sir. What is your point? Sir, we don't have any access to the information. Then I issued notice to Vice Chancellor, considering him as a deemed PIO, saying that according to the sworn statements of your PIO and first appellate authority, the file is with you. That means you are denying the information. So anybody who doesn't cooperate with the PIO, RTI says he shall be deemed as PIO and he will be liable for non-disclosure of the information which is supposed to be disclosed. Then I issued notice and show cause notice also. I asked him to be present and I also asked him to explain why I should not impose penalty. I know it's a very, very, very strong use of strong arm of law which goes to the extent of reaching the top authority of the public authority. Then next time I gave 30 days time. 30 days after the hearing was scheduled on video conferencing, professor was there in his house from video conferencing. Not a COVID day. So even before COVID appeared and dictating us, we have started video conferencing in Central Information Commission, and because of that we could clear so many cases. So using of technology for small purposes, and we have not done it. Until COVID tells us the necessity of technology, we don't learn. That's again another pathetic state of affairs of our country. Okay. Then what happened? The professor was profusely thanking me. Sir, I got my pension. I got my entire information. My grievance was redressed, and I am extremely thankful to you, sir. Then I said, no, you need not be thankful to me. You should be thankful to Right to Information Act, 2005. He said that. Yes, sir, you're right, sir. It is Right to Information Act. Then PIO offered apologies. Sir, I am extremely sorry, sir, for these things. Please excuse me. Then Vice Chancellor also appeared. So, sir, we have done it. We have redressed the grievance. So please relieve us from the show cause notice. I did release them from show cause notice. Because the punishment is only to make you realize, especially the punishment penal provision under RTI Act is to realize the importance of disclosure. Realize the importance of transparency. If you are once realized, there is no point in imposing penalty unless deliberately the top authority also refuses to give information. So this is you tell me, sir, if a professor of law who doesn't get his pension for 1.5 years after retirement, what is it he has to do? Why should he go to Delhi High Court or Punjab Haryana High Court? Why should you hire a lawyer with 50,000 rupees or 1 lakh rupees fee? Why should he file a writ petition against you? The public authority did not perform its responsibility, and for that a writ petition should be lied. It is abuse of legal process also. And you are also trying to waste the time of Honorable High Court and Supreme Court. This is the problem. Your duty, pension must be ready on the date of retirement. You tell me, sir, most of the officers are sitting in your meeting room. How many of you will be happy if you don't receive your pension and accounts on the last date of your working and on the day of your retirement? How many of you will be happy? And how many times you have to go around the offices for pension? It is your right. And you have to beg. I beg to submit, please release my pension amount. I beg to submit, please give me information about my pension file. Is this the way an office should treat a public servant who served for 30 or more than 30 years? Is this the way? And who rescued your dignity? Who rescued your dignity? It is Right to Information Act. Then one advocate came to me. He wanted the medical records of his father, who died in a private hospital in Delhi, and he suspects medical negligence. Whether there is medical negligence or not, he is entitled to information. He must get the information about the treatment of his father. If you are the son, unfortunately, I don't wish that you be in that shoes. I will never wish that you get into a situation where you have to seek medical records information. But if somebody, some unlucky person, like that advocate is asking for information about his father, who died, who loves him most, whom he loves most, and doctors refuse to give information, tell me, sir, what is the problem of a doctor in sharing the information about the treatment, for which he charged lakhs of rupees? What is his right? What is his authority? Who is he after all? He is a service provider. On contract, forget about doctors being treated as gods. Those days have gone long, long ago. You have been paid sumptuous amount to perform your duty as a doctor, and you are not telling me about what you have done about with regard to diagnosis and treatment. What kind of a doctor you are? What kind of ethics it is? Is this what you have promised after becoming a medical graduate in a convocation? Then, oh, great lawyers decide, corporate. You have a lot of money, public money, wonderful, crores of rupees. If somebody asks about how you spent it, you don't answer. You need not answer. You think you need not answer. It's an affront. It's an ego issue. Doctor, a corporate hospital, corporate law firm comes in, and a team will come to argue why information should not be given. A team. They interpret law in their own way. They bring in all sorts of things. Confidentiality, commercial confidence. So this fellow life is gone, and you talk about commercial confidence, competitive edge, the money. Wonderful, huh? Fantastic. Then I asked them, did you see Medical Council Act? Yes, sir. Did you see the rules under which the information has to be given within 72 hours? Do you know that? Yes, sir, we know that. Open it. I have to open for him. Open, so-and-so rule. Within 72 hours of demand, any doctor, private or public, government or private, corporate or not corporate, even a small doctor sitting in the corner of street is expected to give complete information within 72 hours. That is the mandate of Medical Council Act. Law passed by Parliament. And have you read Section 2? Section 2, the information, definition of information under Section 2. Did you read? The last part of the section says, if the information is accessible, if the information available in private organizations is accessible under a law, That is also defined as information. That means what? Information Commissioner can direct that authority to give information under that law. And I said that you have to give that information to him. Come on, give. Whether you are a private hospital, public authority or not is none of my concern. Whether law mandates you to give information or not. Yes, sir. What he did, like all rich public authorities, richest public authorities handling thousands of crores of rupees of the public. They spent a few lakhs of rupees on lawyers, and then they went to Delhi High Court with a writ petition. And the Delhi High Court asked, are you a medical profession? Yes, sir. Are you come under the Medical Council Act? Yes, sir. Whether these rules are applicable to you? Yes, sir. Then did the patient's son demanded the information? Yes, sir. Why did you not give it in 72 hours? Whether I'll admit your writ petition or not is a secondary thing. First, give that information and report compliance to Information Commissioner and file an affidavit before me that you have given the information. Then I'll hear you. That was the order of Delhi High Court. Thanks to Delhi High Court. Thanks to judiciary. Saved us from authoritarian public authorities who refuse to part with some information which is useful for the patient and useless for them. So this is the state of affairs in this country. So you take ultimate recourses to courts of law. Ultimate recourse. Jayanti Lal Mishra is there, you must have studied. Before that, Reserve Bank of India raised all sorts of claims. If somebody reads Right to Information Act, a small common sense and understanding capacity of English language will tell you that RTA supersedes, overrides Banker Books Evidence Act and all your laws which you have quoted in that case, including the contractual obligation of confidentiality, non-disclosure agreement. Your non-disclosure agreement is subject to statute. Statute is subject to constitution. Constitution is subject to natural law. And you hang on to your contract. What kind of a contract it is? Why did you enter into such a contract? You finance thousands of crores of rupees and you say that we will not disclose any information to any other person. What kind of a moral status of this provision, if there is such provision in any of the contracts? Nothing. Nothing, not even, absolutely nothing. And then Supreme Court, first Shailesh Gandhi, the greatest personality. I admire him as one of the great champions of Right to Information Act and good governance in this country. And all bankers are his enemies. All bankers. If there is someone, I salute that person for understanding the purpose of Right to Information Act, good governance, managing the public funds, preventing the misappropriation of public funds. I can use one more harsh word, preventing public money from being looted by unscrupulous elements who have political support. They flee away the country. People allow them to flee away the country. And some of them will be Rajya Sabha members. What is that we are doing in this country? Why are we educated? Are we educated? So you have to ask all these questions to yourselves. All the authorities, I tell you, I especially plead legal officers, law officers, who have studied law in reputed high standard law institutions, who learned from great professors like Sathe in Pune. You have a duty to guide the bankers in a proper manner. You have a duty, honorable duty, respectable duty, personal duty, moral duty, dharmic duty. Krishna's pleaded duty in Bhagavad Gita. If you want to know one word, philosophy of Bhagavad Gita, Kuru Karma, that's all. Kuru Karma, you do your duty. And the place where it emanated is Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra means a ground of action, a ground where action matters, where your performance of duty matters. And you are all in Kurukshetra. I am in Kurukshetra. You are all Arjunas. I am also an Arjuna. And we have a duty to do. What is that? Do duty. Kuru Karma. Do duty. There are two words. This is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. If everybody wants to contradict and expand, you are most free. You do it. It is your duty. As a law officer, it is your duty to properly guide. And I'd like to quote the recent developments for your information. Not that you do not know, you must be knowing it, but it is my duty to go on record to say what happened in recent times. 18th August 2021, 6 days ago, it is a setback to various public sector and private banks, including State Bank of India and HDFC Bank. The Supreme Court bench led by Justice S.A. Nazir refused to entertain the petitions seeking exemption from disclosing any information related to their customers, trade secrets, risk ratings, or any unpublished price-sensitive information from the Right to Information Act. Court rejected. I would like to read one more paragraph for your benefit. Justice Nazir said, "We don't think it proper to hear the case. We are of the view that it is appropriate to list the matter before the original bench of Justice L. Nageshwar Rao. The bench had in April revived its 2015 judgment, making it necessary for the RBI to disclose financial information related to private and public banks under the RTI Act. Shailesh Gandhi has given judgment in 10 cases as CIC. He has rejected all arguments of law officers, developed law firms and lawyers, standing counsel, senior counsel, they researched and developed a defense of banks from not being transparent. He rejected all of them. Then people thought that because he's an RTI activist, very committed to and voicing personality, because he is an activist, not a lawyer, not a judge, so he did that kind of, he gave that kind of judgment. All the 10 personalities challenged her. In all the high courts, every bank took the judgment, every judgment to high court, because they are not dealing with their money, public money. Chalo, let us spend public money. Let us have luxury of spending public money. Then went to high courts, Supreme Court. High court has, all high court litigation was transferred to Supreme Court. A big bench was constituted. Then all the contentions of the bankers were taken up at one, and a historic judgment was pronounced by the Supreme Court in Jayanti Lal N. Shaw case. I hope you all know. I wish that you please print it in all the languages. Distribute it among your PIOs. Distribute it among your law officers. Let them study what the law of right to information is. Let them understand why this Information Act has come. Let them understand that transparency is the only way of preventing the scandals. If you don't give information, you are facilitating a scandal. Yesterday I was addressing a women's organization on gender justice. I told them, your silence is their violence. If you are silent, suffering the torture of others, they will continue the torture. The violence is sourced in, embedded in your silence. Manchi Valla Maunam in Telugu, I don't know whether any Telugu man is there in your group. For his benefit I am telling. Manchi Valla Mauname Nerastulaki Balam. That means if a righteous man is silent, a criminal will get boosted strength. This is the reality of the country, and we should know this. Then the historic judgment on every count it is totally settled that bankers have to give information. They can't hide. Absolutely they cannot, they don't have any authority. Under any law, iota of law, under any circumstances, you have to be transparent. Do you know what happened thereafter? Very surprisingly, though no remedy is available in the Constitution of India, the bankers filed a petition. Do you know, asking for what? To recall the judgment. क्या बात है? Recall the judgment. ये कोई कार है क्या, automobile? To recall, repair and send it back. Recall the judgment. Nullify the judgment in Jayanti Lal Shah. Nullify. Remove it. Cancel. No. The expression is this. Cancel the judgment. Nowhere in the Constitution, world over, in any democratic constitution, there is no provision for cancellation of judgment. You are not asking for appeal, review. You are asking for cancellation. What great people, what great intellectual property that you have. Fantastic. And Supreme Court rejected it, saying that no, nothing doing, no cancellation. You are asking for something which is not there. Rejected and reaffirmed Jayanti Lal Shah's judgment, reaffirmed. Every point was reaffirmed. Every point was re-argued. Every point was vehemently argued. Every point is rejected totally. Rejected, sir. Please underline rejection. It is not disagreement with you. It is rejected as untenable, illegal, unconstitutional, against the provisions of Right to Information Act. Rejected. But do you know what happened thereafter? I think you know. But let me put it on record, on your conference. It should be there in your records. The Reserve Bank of India, which is regulatory, which is not supposed to be profit-making bank, which is the financial regulatory of the entire country, which should behave with higher dignity than a private commercial bank, or at least at par with the dignity of public sector bank. But do you know what they did? They announced in their website that we don't give this information. The information which is supposed to be given according to Supreme Court, according to Central Information Commission, according to Right to Information, according to Constitution of India, is written on the website, official website, that we are not going to give this information. क्या बात है? This is real contempt of court. All those who are associated with this kind of resolution and publication should be jailed for 1 month. Should be jailed, and that is the law. I am not wishing any fantastic wish. I am talking about a legal fact, rule of law. And it doesn't happen in this country. And somebody again asked the information, bank's information, and somebody again refused. And the PIO, Chief Public Information Officer of the Reserve Bank of India, says, we don't give this information. Again, same fiduciary, secret, Bankers Books Act, that act, this act, this act, all your old contentions which are absolutely rejected are repeated. Do you know there is one law in CPC called res judicata? You are all masters of law, I need not tell you. And nobody respects res judicata in our country. So that fellow wrote, that officer wrote, the great gentleman, I don't blame him. He wrote, sir, this is what this is. And he appeared before me in video conferencing, and he explained his inability. Sir, what to do, sir? Board of Governors decided, they announced it, it's their policy. I'm an employee, sir. I'm not an independent officer. He's right. He's an employee. He's a subordinate. He can't raise his voice against his superior. Bossism is very serious in our country. Bossism. The East India Company. Every boss is an East India Company owner. So that is the situation. Then I asked them, did you make an effort? I'll give you some time. Make an effort to procure that information, because it is to be given according to Supreme Court in Jayanti Lal case. Please procure. He took time, 15 days time, and then again there is an appearance after 15 days. He comes out and says, sir, I can't do it, sir. It is beyond my capacity. They have made it a policy not to give this information, sir. I don't know what is Supreme Court. I am bound by the management of the Reserve Bank of India. Then I asked, who is responsible for this convening of Board of Studies meetings? The Governor. I issued a notice to Governor. I deemed Governor as a deemed PIO, and I said that this information is with you, and you are supposed to give the information according to Jayanti Lal Shah's judgment, and you have made an official announcement on your website not to give. Maybe it is based on the resolution of the Board of Directors, so Board of Governors. So I wish you please give the information, or explain why I should not impose penalty, maximum penalty available to ROTI Act. It made a very serious news item. And there is one great tactic our lawyers do, that is postponement, adjournment. Adjournment is the, what can I say? It's a kind of shop. Karna, Karna in Mahabharata, Karna is a valiant personality. He is equal or sometimes more powerful than Arjuna. But he is stuck with curses of Munis and various other persons. He can't use his weapon we acquired, because he is cursed to forget the mantra with which he has to launch the missile of some astra which was taught to him by his guru. That's it, he can't use it. So we have astras, Brahmastra. What is that astra? Writ petition, right to freedom of speech and expression. Supreme Court giving writs under 226, 32. High Courts under 226. Oh, fantastic. Brahmastra. But all of us are Karnas. We are Abhishapta. Abhishapta means cursed. Cursed by whom? our great personalities, they say that no, we say you have to suffer the adjournments and adjournment. They took adjournments, and everybody has an end in a career. Somebody will retire, somebody will complete the term of office, somebody will demit the office. So I demitted the office, and again Supreme Court goes to again the court, the RBI and other courts go to Supreme Court, and Supreme Court reiterates and says that I'm not going to cancel the order of Jayanti Lal Shah. Again they come back and they tell. Now, do you know what is the strategy that they adopted? Strategy is this: we will issue third-party information notices. Third parties will receive, and immediately third party means a bank which has advanced the loan, they go to court of law, file a writ petition, challenge. Again they will raise all those old rejected contentions of Jayanti Lal Shah. Again it will go to Supreme Court, again it will come back. So this is a strategy developed by the highly intellectual personalities who are great authorities on Indian Constitution and every other provision, and they are trying to obstruct the flow of information. It's a very sad state of affairs, I say, but I personally appeal to all of you, being yourselves eminent lawyers, experts in banking law, and you know that you are dealing with public money. I'll share one of my experiences and conclude. I know I am giving you a lot of information to you, which perhaps will be rattling in your minds. Now, that is my aim. I have to pose a problem to you, which is being faced by the people in general, so that you also think about it as a responsible, accountable, answerable officer. So I was a journalist in 1986. I was an investigative reporter. I went to Tirupati Balaji temple and I saw huge corruption around. Then I tried to know what exactly is happening. Then I wrote a series of stories in the daily newspaper at that point of time, exposing the irregularities, corruption in construction and various other areas. Procurement and construction are the areas where you have a lot of money and the people tend to be corrupt. Then the chief minister appointed a one-man commission, judicial inquiry. 1986, sir, I am talking about 1986. Judicial inquiry, and my office asked me to prove what I have written. I went to commission and I requested the inspection of the files. There was no Right to Information Act in 1986. You know that. 20 years ago. Then the TTD executive officer, who is an IAS officer, he argued, who is he? Who is this Sridhar? What kind of a man he is? What authority he has over my file? Then I said, I am not asking your file, your family file, your personal file. Please never give that. I don't want to bother myself about your family life. Anyway, you are supposed to face it. You are facing it. Face it. I am asking about my file. I said, which is your file? He said, I am a donor. Whenever I come to Tirupati, I put 100 rupees, 10 rupees, 1 rupee, half a rupee, or whatever that comes to my mind, I'll put in hundi. And the entire TTD is being running by the hundi money. And hundi money is contributed by the people. It is people's money. You are a public institution. And you are a public officer. You are a public servant. Paid from the amount of TTD. IAS officer who is deputed as the executive officer of TTD, Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam, is paid from the TTD income, not from the government. Then I said, you are paid by my donations, from my donations. And you are spending that money for construction, procurement, and all sorts of activities. It is my file. It is my money. It is my information. Then he brought lawyers. I argued. They argued. Then the judge was convinced by my argument, and he offered me inspection. You will surprise, sir. Thousands of files were placed on a very large table in a specially organized hall, and hundreds of employees of TTD are surrounding the table. to protect the files, and I am the only one person, only one adversary, no support from anybody. And I am supposed to inspect all the files in a day from 10 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock. I prayed God, I believe in God. I prayed God, Tirumala, Tirupati, Venkateshwara, please help me in digging the truth out. I walked to the center or some place of the table, opened a file. Each file is having 2,000 or 3,000 papers. Each file. I just lifted it like this. God's grace, sir, I discovered an incriminating document. I went back, went forward. By the end of the day, silently, because there is no one to talk, I was silent, forced to be silent. I listed 387 documents, and next day I submitted it to the judge. I want certified photostat copies of these documents. Again the arguments, because it is an interim application. Again the great lawyers on that side. A single human being supported by one lawyer on this side. Not a corporate personality, not a rich man, not a politician. An ordinary writer in a newspaper like me. Then I again raised the arguments. I said that this is public money and they are administering it. They are trustees, they are managers, they are not owners. I am the owner. I am the one of the joint owners. I am the one of several lakhs of joint owners. So he has a duty to report to me. He is public servant. Understand the meaning of public servant. He is not an officer, he is a public servant. Please tell him that he has to give those files to me. Then again, to my great fortune, though there was no Right to Information Act at that point of time, he granted me two rights. One right is right of inspection. Second right is right of having certified documents. I got them. And I proved every allegation what I wrote. And when I was inspecting the files, I was told later that they have arranged a tape recorder underneath the table so that they find out who leaked information to me through my conversation with my colleagues. But it so happened that I had no colleague at that point of time and I did not speak to anybody. So entire recording went waste. Then they threatened me. They wanted to kill me. They attacked the reservation bogie in which I reserved my return journey. But luckily I got information not to travel by the train because I am going to be attacked. And you will be surprised to know again, do you know who gave this information to me? The judge himself. Judge called me and said, Professor, Mr. Sridhar, there is an attack being planned on you. I came to know about it. Please don't go by train. Go by other means. Then first time I traveled by flight in 1986 from Tirupati to Hyderabad. And I'm alive before you. And I would like to tell you, sir, I used the Right to Information Act in 1986. And I want all the people, including you, for your problems, to use the Right to Information Act. To make public authorities, to develop culture among the public authorities, to share the information with the people, to break the secrecy, official secrecy. It's an oxymoron, you know. If it is official, why should it be secret? It is official secret. So there is no official secrecy except in security related information. So I request and suggest all of you, the great personalities assembled before me today, to understand the importance of transparency, better governance, duties of fiduciary, duties of trustees. You are all trustees. And you please don't use fiduciary as a defense of non-disclosure. Use a fiduciary for a better management, and for better management you should be transparent. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I don't know how much time I am supposed to speak. I think I have covered around 50 minutes. If you have any questions, I would like to answer. Otherwise, it is my conclusion.
Hello.